What's up guys, my name is Ace and welcome back to another Q&A. This is like our 19th Q&A or something now, so we've done a lot of these, so if you guys want to find out more about me and everything, make sure you go and check the playlist, which I will link down below to all of the other Q&As that I've done. But we're going to be answering a bunch of questions that you guys left in the comment section of the last Q&A. That's how these Q&As work. If you do have a question for me, it can be about anything at all, just leave that question in the comment section of this video, and I will try my best to answer it in the next Q&A. Now, I've also decided if it's something that I've already answered before, I'll probably just like reply to you in the comment section below and just give you the answer there. So then at least you know that the question has been answered and you do get your answer to your question, but it won't be featuring it in the video, or at least in the next Q&A, because I've already answered it before. So let's hop into the first question. So the first one comes from Braden Adams, and this is actually a two-part question here. First, if Pinocchio says his nose will grow, or is about to grow, will it? My answer to that is maybe. That's all I can really say. Second question, a little bit more on topic and serious here. Gotta get serious. Hey Ace, how do you find the means to travel at such a young age? So for those of you that don't know, I've done a fair amount of traveling in my life, and I'm still relatively young. I'm only 25, but I've done a few Europe trips. I've traveled a lot of places down in the Caribbean and stuff. A lot of that was with families, so those ones don't really count because it's kind of been as I've grown up. I've been traveling to places like Panama and Mexico and Cuba, places like that. And that's all like family trips. Actually, Cuba I did pay for. But the other ones, they were all paid for by my family just because, well, it was a family trip. It was like a family vacation. It was our Christmas present sometimes. And it was just kind of a nice gift from our parents. And my parents are relatively well off. They're not rich by any means, but they're well off enough that we can do stuff like that, which is awesome. I'm really fortunate that that's the case. And I really appreciate everything they've always done for us. But as for the other traveling, I've paid for everything as far as that goes, especially Europe trips. These are expensive for somebody that lives in Canada. It's not cheap to get across there. Basically, I live as cheap as possible when I travel. A lot of people wouldn't be able to handle it. I was kind of taught this by my traveling buddy or partner, I guess, one of my good friends that I travel with, and we actually had a budget of 30 euros a day for everything when we were in Europe. Now, some days we'd go over, some days we'd stay under, but just think about 30 euros a day. That's for accommodation, that's for food, and that's for anything we want to do throughout the day. So we were eating very cheap. We would basically, instead of going to restaurants and stuff and buying food that way, which can get very expensive, we would go to grocery stores. We would buy like a loaf of bread, some ham or something, and some cheese and maybe some mayo or something, and we'd just make sandwiches all the time, and we'd eat like super cheap. Every now and then we'd go out and kind of cheat a little bit and have a meal because we want to experience like the local cuisine or something like that. But for the most part, we just went to grocery stores and we ate as cheap as possible. Even at the grocery store, we were trying to find like the cheapest things possible. And the most expensive thing with that trip was our flights. So the flights, we basically tried to keep flexible, and we just found the best deal possible. That was the biggest thing. We weren't picky with the days that we were leaving or coming back, and therefore we were able to find good deals on flights, or we always are. Anytime I do travel, I try to stay flexible that way so that I can get good flights. Try not to fly on weekends because flight prices are going to hop up quite a bit. Book about 5 weeks in advance? I think it's 5 weeks in advance is like the prime time to buy tickets for flights, unless you're looking for like a last minute thing, then sometimes you can get good last minute deals. As for accommodation, I stayed in hostels a lot, so we looked for like the cheapest hostels ever. I always look for the cheap hostels, things that'll cost like 15 euros a night or something, sometimes even 10 euros a night, like really cheap. They're kind of gross and dumpy, but it doesn't matter. It's just a place to sleep while you're out traveling. It's the experience that matters there. And also some of those cheap hostels are like the places where you meet the best people. You meet some awesome people while you're traveling and staying at cheap hostels. Whereas if you stay at like some expensive hotel or something, you don't really get to meet anybody. You just have a nice hotel to sleep at and you can kind of keep to yourself. So I kind of prefer staying in the cheap hostels and everything. But I've rambled on about this for too long. Basically, just budget yourself. You can do a trip for very cheap. I did 3 weeks in Europe for, I think my budget was $3,000, and I came in under budget on that. That includes absolutely everything. The entire trip was less than $3,000. So if you can save up $2,500, $3,000, you can go to Europe and you can travel around as long as you live cheap and stick to your budgets. Next up, we have a question from Serious Dig. What type of videos do you like making the most or have the most fun making if views were not a factor? This is kind of a tough question because I like making a variety of videos. I really like making things like my spawn guides and stuff, but I don't want to be making spawn guides all the time because that's really time consuming and it takes a lot of mental energy, and it's really draining to make spawn guides videos all the time. But I really enjoy making them. I just wouldn't want to make one every second day. Likewise, I really enjoy my live commentaries, but I don't like recording live commentaries every single day. It gets a little bit draining and a little bit annoying. So basically, I just like making variety. Whatever is something that I feel like recording at the time is what I enjoy playing or recording. And sometimes I kind of feel like I force myself to record something that I don't necessarily want to record because that is the best way to get views and stuff, or that's just the video that I promised, so I gotta do it. And that's just something with YouTube where if you're serious about YouTube, you have to suck that up every once in a while and just do it. This is kind of work. This is a job to me in a big sense, now that I'm full-time especially. So, I don't know, sometimes you get to make the videos you really want to make, and other times you make videos that you just know you have to make, but you might not enjoy quite as much. Alright, this next one kind of relates to a question I answered in the previous Q&A. This one is relating to the first question I answered in the last Q&A. How did you learn to turn off logical thinking in social situations? Because I basically explained that I'm a pretty logical thinker. I'm kind of introverted naturally. But when I'm out in social situations, I'm able to kind of turn that off a lot of times and be that like really outgoing, like crazy person, I guess you could say. Not really crazy, but I'm outgoing. I don't have any filters. And I kind of learned to just turn off that logical thinking side, which I think is a really good thing to do when you're out with friends and just try and have a good time, basically, because logical thinking does not equal a fun time most of the time. Honestly, how did I learn to do this? Well, first off, with alcohol. Like, I don't recommend becoming an alcoholic or anything, but when I started drinking when I was younger, it was like, it just let me, like, it removed that filter and allowed me to open up and be crazy. And I've kind of just learned to get into that state of mind now without being drunk. Like, I don't need to drink to do that. I can just kind of, I don't know, feel what's going on around and just kind of let loose anyways without a bunch of alcohol or anything. I still have some drinks every now and then, but I don't get totally wasted and out of control. And honestly, that's where I kind of learned that from. So that's pretty much the answer to that question. All right, this next one relates to Black Ops 3, and this is about the specialists. So this one's from Boss Sox Fan 15. Hey Ace, when Destiny came out, you did a video on it and about how you didn't enjoy supers because any player could get them from just being in a Crucible match. Since Black Ops 3 is now going to have specialist abilities that require no skill to get, do you think they should be in the game? Also, do you think Black Ops 3 could become too chaotic with streaks and specialists running all over the place? Honestly, still, like, even after playing the beta and realizing the specialists weren't quite as scary as I thought they would be, which is due to the time to kill in Black Ops 3. That's the big difference between the Black Ops 3 and Destiny, supers and specialists. With Destiny, the time to kill is quite slow, so when you have an insta-kill sort of super, it's very difficult to counter, or sometimes it's impossible to counter. It's literally impossible. You see it happening, and it's just like, well, I'm about to die, and there's nothing I can do about it. Whereas with Black Ops 3, you can just melt them instantly. If you're on point, you're like head in the game, you're in the zone, you can take them out very quickly, and you can shut them down. So that's why I'm not as worried about them, but it's still one of my biggest concerns with the game. I think if anything is going to make me not like the game a few months down the road, I think it's probably still going to be the specialists. I feel like I just don't like the idea of earning these things that are a lot of the times free kills. Like I said, not quite as much as Destiny was, but a lot of the times it's still free kills. It's kind of annoying. Sometimes it isn't really counterable, and you don't really have to do anything to earn that ability. I don't mind score streaks because, well, he earned it. So if a guy kills me with a lightning strike, fair play. He earned that lightning strike. He got the kill on me. I can just move on. It doesn't even affect me. I might be a little bit annoyed, but it doesn't affect me because I understand he earned that. Whereas if someone kills me with a war machine, it's like, okay, you didn't even really work to earn that, and there wasn't really much I could do to counter you in that situation. You just got that free kill on me. And it's a little bit frustrating, but like I said throughout the beta when I played it, it really wasn't that annoying. It wasn't as annoying as I thought it'd be, and it's relatively easy to shut down a specialist, so I'm kind of okay with it, but I still would prefer them not being in the game. And I do think it does make the game a little bit more chaotic, actually quite a bit more chaotic. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. I'm trying to stay optimistic with the specialists, but at the same time, I'm a little cautious with it. This next question, I've actually been asked a few times. Have you ever been in a fight? Now, I've never been in like a fist fight where I've been punching people. I'm actually very good at like talking myself out of situations if I need to. Like if I've had several times. If you go out, you guys will probably know this. If you go out and you're just hanging out and stuff, every now and then you'll get some guy that just wants to fight. He doesn't care who he wants to fight. He just wants to fight someone. And me being like a skinny guy, I'm an easy target for that. So a lot of times people want to try and start fights with me, like subtly start fights, like they run into me accidentally. No, not accidentally. And they want to start something, and I'm usually pretty good at talking people out of that. I actually had one guy, he ended up buying me a drink instead. It was hilarious. He wanted to fight me, and I don't know what I said. I can't even remember exactly what happened and how I made this happen, but at the end of it, he ended up buying me a beer and was like, "Have a good night, man," and he just like left. It was like, sweet, I got a free drink out of that. So I find that's the best way to handle those situations anyways, is to just talk your way out of it. There have been a couple situations. There was one where there wasn't a fist fight, but I did like kind of take a guy to the ground because he came after me. I learned my dad was a cop for like 30 years, I think just over 30 years or something. So from a young age, he taught me a few like little techniques and stuff, mainly pressure points. So that's kind of, if I get in a pinch, that's kind of what I default to, his pressure points. So I just got the guy on the pressure point behind the neck here, and you just squeeze hard enough in the right spot, they just drop to the ground, like their knees get weak and they're just done. So I had to do that once to a guy who was getting pretty pushy and kind of grabby on me. But I wouldn't call that a fight. It was more like just you stay down there and I'm gonna walk away now. So that's the closest thing to a fight I would say I've ever been in. All right, this next one comes from Thomas, and this one really made me think a lot, and I have a good answer to this. What is your biggest fear? And please don't say something like spiders or dying or anything like that. I want a strange fear, even if it's not actually your biggest. Keep in mind intangible things like losing your YouTube channel or not finding true love. All right, biggest fear for me is not basically becoming complacent and not pushing myself further. I never want to become that guy that just kind of, I don't know, does what everyone expects and just kind of lives a boring, average life. I always want to be pushing myself further. I always want to be learning. I always want to be progressing in some way. And my biggest fear is just kind of falling into that trap of working a 9-to-5, living an average life, and basically just wasting my life away. I don't know. I don't want to fall into that trap. I always want to be pushing myself further, and I would say that is my biggest fear, is just becoming mediocre, I guess, and just average. Next up, we have a question from Rain Odin. Do you have any musical talent? Absolutely not. I kind of can sing a little bit. I can play Guitar Hero really well, but not an actual guitar. I was actually pretty good at Guitar Hero back in the day. I love karaoke. I always have a good time going out and singing some karaoke. If you guys don't know, my favorite song is Baby Got Back. I love singing that song in karaoke. It just makes people go crazy. And I do have a pretty decent voice as well. I know that's not like a really good song to judge a person's voice on, but I can sing decently well. And no, I am never singing for you guys. Maybe on Twitch, if you get me drunk or something, I will sing. But that's it. So no, I would say I don't really have much musical talent. Moving on, the question is, are you interested in GBs or ranked/arena play? Keep up the great work. Well, thank you. I will keep up the great work. Kind of. With Black Ops 3, I'm a little bit more excited to get back into this. At the end of Black Ops 2's life cycle, I really started getting into League play. It was like a whole new game to me, and that's why I love Black Ops 2 right to the end of its life cycle. Unlike some other Call of Duty games where it gets really stale. With Black Ops 2, I was pushing right to the end because League play, it basically hooked me at the end. And then with Ghosts and Advanced Warfare, I just didn't have any interest in ranked plays, or what do they call it, clan versus clan in Ghosts. It just didn't interest me. I didn't find it fun or exciting. I didn't really get into the scene. And watching the Esports live stream last week, it really makes me want to get into the Black Ops 3 esports scene. Not in the sense that I want to play professionally or anything, or play for money, or even game battles. I don't think I really want to play. It's more so just getting into arena play and really grinding it out, and maybe even sharing tips, at least like more entry level esports tips. I'm not going to be like some pro tips or anything like that, probably. But I'm definitely interested to check it out in Black Ops 3. I'm interested to see what they do with arena play as far as rewards and punishments for leaving games and everything like that. Because that was a big issue that I had with Ghosts and Advanced Warfare, is it just felt like I was helpless in the sense that if I wanted to play ranked solo or league solo, all my teammates would just leave, and the game was never really about how well I played. It was more so hoping that my teammates didn't leave, and hoping the enemy team did leave, because whoever leaves first loses. And that's basically what it came down to for me. So I didn't really enjoy myself with that. So I hope they have a better system for Black Ops 3. This next one comes from Brian. And have you ever had trouble doing public speaking when you were in school, like high school, college, etc.? Also, as a kid, what did you want to be when you're growing up? I'm a sophomore in high school, and I'm still clueless as to what I want to pursue as a career. All right, first question there. Have you ever had trouble doing public speaking while you're in school? I have, actually, and that's part of the reason I started doing YouTube. I was actually in business school at the time, and I wasn't the worst at public speaking. Like, I didn't get like, oh my god, I'm sweating so bad I can't even talk, like, the fear is in me. No, it wasn't that bad. It was just, I would kind of stumble over my words every once in a while, which I still do. Like, even in this video, you've seen me do it a couple times, which is kind of natural. As long as you can play it off well, then there's nothing really wrong with that. You can always work to improve that, though. It's always nice to be able to speak very smoothly without stumbling on your words. But I have had a few of those situations where I did get a little bit worked up and nervous, and too nervous to kind of talk, or so nervous that I was making mistakes all over the place. And that was something you just have to keep going with and just push through. It's like practice makes perfect. Once you do it enough, that nervousness just goes away, or at least it's suppressed a lot, or maybe even start looking forward to that a little bit. Like, it's kind of an excited feeling, and I don't know, you can kind of make that work in your favor when you're presenting. Because in high school, I wasn't the greatest, but by the end of business school, I loved doing presentations. I loved it. Bigger the crowd, the better, too. I once did, like, at the end in my 4th year of university, I think there was like 100 and some people, and I had to present in front of a board of like the top CEOs in the city, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I was so excited I had that opportunity to do that, and it felt really cool. So, I don't know, it started kind of as a weakness, but eventually I progressed and I was able to be very comfortable with it. As for what did I want to be when I grew up? I just wanted to be an entrepreneur. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. My idea was, I'll always just figure it out as I go. I'll see what opportunities arise, and when I find one that I want, I'm going to jump into it and give it my all, which is right now YouTube and Twitch. A little while ago, it was a marketing consultant business that I was running, and I was really passionate about that at the beginning, but then I kind of lost a little bit of interest in that. That's pretty much it. This next question is, when did you see that you were exceptionally good at COD? Well, first, thank you for thinking that I'm exceptionally good at COD. I don't know. Call of Duty is kind of awesome in the sense that it makes everyone feel like they're exceptionally good at COD. Not everyone, but everyone always gets those moments where it's like, man, I'm a beast. Like, even if you're a complete noob and you usually do terrible, you get that one game every once in a while, or you get that one score streak every once in a while, and it's like, I'm the best at this game. I'm the best this game has ever seen. So it's really hard to judge that. Like, even back in Call of Duty 4, my first multiplayer Call of Duty, I had moments where I'm like, I'm just the best in this game. Like, I'm literally the best in the world, and no one can touch me. But I know that's not the case. So I don't really know. I would say Black Ops 2 is when I really started realizing that I could be a very consistent player that led every single lobby. Modern Warfare 3, I was pretty good, but it was really Black Ops 3 where I would say I got my stride with Call of Duty, in the sense that I was typically the best in the lobby every single game. Next up is from Harry Thomas. Would you be willing to do a Draw My Life for 100,000 subscribers? Potentially. A lot of people have been requesting that from me. I don't know how I would handle it, but I'll look into it for sure. I've got a little bit of time before I get to 100,000. Or maybe I don't. I hope I don't. That would be sweet if I don't, but we'll see, we'll see. Moving on, has any of your family played Call of Duty except for you? No, actually. None of my family, my immediate family anyways, have played Call of Duty. My cousins play Call of Duty. They're, how old are they now? I think my older one's like 17 and stuff, so obviously he plays some Call of Duty. Not a lot, but a little bit. But no, none of my immediate family have ever even tried to. They'd be like completely, they wouldn't even know how to move around. It would be that bad, so nope, not at all. Next up, the question is from Jude the Dude. Hey Ace, big fan. Thank you. How to do commentary? I would really like to do commentaries on my vids, but I just keep saying ahs and ums. Well, you might have noticed, I think even in that sentence there, I said and I still do it a lot. I'm still trying to catch myself, and it still happens. It's kind of a natural thing that we do. We just kind of have to fill that space with something. We feel as though we need to fill that space that would otherwise be silence with something, and it turns into an ah or an and it's just something that takes a lot of practice. Just go with it. Try your best to, instead of using ahs and ums, just, there's nothing wrong with silence. There's nothing wrong with pausing at all. A lot of people feel as though they need to be constantly talking when they're doing a commentary, and there can't be a little pause. Also, little trick, in editing, depending on the software you have, you can cut those little things out. So if you're looking at the wavelength of your audio, assuming you have a program that does that, Sony Vegas does, every now and then I'll cut out an before I start saying something. You might not catch it, because most of the time if you just cut that out, no one will even notice. Sometimes you can kind of tell though, because your kind of starts into a sentence. So you're like, I don't know about this. But yeah, you can actually cut those out sometimes, and it does improve the commentary. It does make it sound a little bit more professional. Now that's just kind of putting a band-aid on a problem that's there. So I wouldn't recommend doing that and just not worrying about practicing, trying not to say the ahs and ums, but it is going to happen. Just push through it and practice. Next question comes from Vaporized. I have two questions. How long have you played COD? Want to go out sometime? Kappa. You got my hopes up, and then the Kappa just destroyed me. I was going to say yes, but you were just joking. Whatever. How long have I played COD? Alright, so I finally found out, a lot of times, anytime anybody's asked me this, I'm like, I don't know, I think I've been playing since like COD 1 or something, but I realized Call of Duty 2 was my very first Call of Duty, but I never played Call of Duty online until Call of Duty 4. So, yeah, that answers your question there, because I realized COD 1 was only on PC, I believe, and I only played it on console, so I played COD 2 on the PS3, I believe it was. Yeah, was it PS3 or PS2? I don't know. I've been playing it for it must have been PS2. It was PS2. Yeah, way back then. And yeah, I've played through all the campaigns since then. And I even got like all the weird like throwback ones. I don't know. There's some other ones too. I've played like most of Call of Duty except for Call of Duty 1. Next question comes from Clear to See. I admire that you do not like drama and you stay as far away from it as possible. I think he's talking on YouTube. I tend to avoid drama as much as possible. Saying that, what are your thoughts about high school drama? Were you a popular kid, and what was your group of friends? Alright, thoughts about high school drama? Same about any drama, just it's pointless most of the time. I tend to just avoid it, and I just find it's just counterproductive to everything. I try to stay away from it and just be generally happy and not worry about all that kind of stuff, because most of the time when you start getting into drama, things get blown out of proportion, and it's just ridiculous when you look at it. If you like take a step back and look at it, it just looks ridiculous. As for was I a popular kid at school, like in high school, and what was my group of friends? I've said this before, we were never like the most popular kids in school that everyone wanted to be like or anything, but we were kind of up there as the group that everybody knew and generally most people liked. My friends were, some of my friends were kind of stoners. I never was, I never really was into that. But they were still my friends, so I still hung out with them and everything, and went to parties and stuff with them. So I don't know, on a scale of like 1 to 10 of popularity, I would say we were around like an 8, somewhere around there, I guess. Yeah, I guess that answers your question. Next up, we have a question from Sidson Aidson, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, because part of it's just saying like thank you, and I've been sub since this time and stuff, and I really appreciate that. I always appreciate your support, Sidson Aidson. I remember you from the streams and everything. The question is, if you were asked to change something in your life, what would it be? This one is a good question, and that made me think quite a bit. I would say the easiest thing is I would travel more. I feel like I haven't been traveling too much lately. Like, yeah, I go on the odd tropical vacation every once in a while, but I don't really consider that to be traveling. That's just like relaxing and taking a break. I'd like to travel more around the world and experience more cultures. And I have plans to do that in the near future. So hopefully that change is coming, but we will see how things go. Next question comes from Christopher Cruz. Have you ever tried fighting games? You seem to excel at playing solo, you have good reactions, and you seem to have a good grasp on gaming psychology. I think that's a genre you'd be good at. It's actually my probably weakest gaming genre. I am absolutely terrible at fighting games, and it's probably due to the fact that I never really got into it and practiced it and learned the subtleties of it. But like even my friends that don't play video games, like if we're out and we just happen to see like Mortal Kombat, like an arcade thing, and we just want to play it for fun just to kill some times, I always lose. I lose to all of my friends that don't even play video games. I'm just a button masher when it comes to fighting games, or I try to come up with some sort of strategy, and then their button mashing just destroys my strategy, and it's like, I don't know. I'm done. I just, I have a hard time with fighting games, we'll just say, and I don't really have too much interest to like get into them and practice. Next question comes from Orangey Kins. Can you sign my tits? Well, maybe, like, if you come to a fan meetup. Oh, you're just kidding. The actual question is, do you think Black Ops 3 will be a fail like Ghosts? And no, honestly not. A lot of people are going to say, oh, it's just the Call of Duty cycle. He's saying the next game's going to be awesome and bashing the current game. No, I typically don't fall into the Call of Duty cycle. I'm still playing Advanced Warfare to this date. I am getting kind of annoyed with it, but I'm still playing it. I still enjoy it. I think it's a good game. Do I think it's going to be a fail like Ghosts? No. No, I have faith in Treyarch as a developer. We've played the beta already. At its core, it seems to be a very solid game. There doesn't seem to be any huge core issues, aside from potentially in the future, specialists might get on people's nerves a lot. Like, it's a cool gimmick at first, and everyone's excited about it, but I feel like it's going to wear on a lot of people in the coming months. But I don't think it's enough to completely, like, destroy the fan base of the game, kind of like Ghost did with a large portion of the community. I think Black Ops 3 is going to do much better. Of course, by the end of the life cycle, there's going to be a lot of people that hate on it. Even within the first week, I'm sure there's going to be some people that absolutely hate the game and will express their feelings very strongly. But I don't think it's going to be nearly as much of a fail, I guess you could say, as Ghosts was. Next question comes from Aaron Medrano. Do you have a girlfriend? Why or why not? If you do, then would you ever want a kid in the future? So I do kind of have a girlfriend now. Like, we've been dating for only a few weeks now, so it's a very, like, young relationship, I guess you could say. Yeah, I don't know. We've only been dating a little while, so as far as the kid thing, not with her, not yet anyways. Like, it's way too early to say anything like that, but definitely down the road, I would love to have kids. I would love to be a dad. And that's not something that I want anytime in the next few years, though. Like, I want that to be a little bit down the road, maybe when I'm like 30 or something. I'm going to be an old dad, whatever, deal with it. I say that a lot now. I'm going to make a t-shirt that just says, whatever, deal with it. Exclusive Ace 2015. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. Next question is, being from Canada, do you have any problems with things like bears and stuff? I swear they're everywhere in North America. There are actually like some issues with bears, not so much where I live. Like there is the odd bear around, but it's very rare where I live. But when you start getting to the more remote areas, or you get up north or over towards the mountains, yes, it becomes a real issue, and you do have to be very cautious. You have to know what you're doing. And I see tourists a lot when I go to the mountains. There's tourists everywhere. And there's bears, like, on the side of the road. You'll just be driving, and the bears are relatively used to vehicles and humans being around. So they'll just be chilling in the ditch next to the highway, and you'll get, like, typically Asian tourists. I'm not trying to stereotype here, but you see it all the time. That you'll see these tourists pull over on the side of the road, get out of their vehicles, and walk within, like, 20 feet of a black bear and start taking pictures. Now, most of the time, nothing's going to happen, but all it takes is that one time for that bear to be like, I don't like this situation, and I feel threatened, so I'm going to go on the attack, and there's nothing they can do. Like, they're just going to be dead, basically. And they don't realize the danger of it. It's like they think that these are trained bears that are there to pose for pictures. It's not the case. You do have to be a little bit cautious with bears, and definitely if you go out hiking in any kind of remote place, you're going to want to have some sort of bear defense, like bear bangers or bear spray, or even a shotgun or something if you're out doing that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's always something to be considered, at least in my province. This next question kind of relates to a previous one. Were you always this good at Call of Duty, or did you start out as a noob? Also, what most helped you improve? All right, was I always this good at Call of Duty? No, I wasn't always this good. I didn't begin at the level I'm at now. That was a lot of hard work and practice to get where I am now. Having said that, I was never what I would consider to be a complete noob. Like my first multiplayer Call of Duty was COD 4. I was pretty good at first-person shooters, like single-player first-person shooters, so I had a good handle of how to move the character around and aim and stuff. Like I had no problems with that. I think, yeah, my main account for Call of Duty 4, my very first Call of Duty ever, my very first account ever, I had like a 1.4 KD. And I only really played Team Deathmatch, but still. I would consider that to be not a complete noob by any means. Like, I did fairly well looking back for someone that had never played it before. But at the same time, I have progressed a lot. And what most helped me improve? Thing that helped me improve most is just active playing. Like, actively thinking while playing. That's what a lot of people don't do. They just shut their mind off and they just mindlessly drone away at the game. I'm constantly thinking, what happened in that situation? What could I have done better in that situation? And next time I run into a similar situation, I try something new. Did that work? If that worked, then maybe I'll start doing that again. And then maybe I find out that doesn't work all the time. What could I do a little bit better to make that work more often? And you're just fine-tuning and honing things as you do that, and you will improve with that. A big thing over the past couple of years that I've put a lot of mental energy into is accuracy. My accuracy was always pretty bad. I would consider it to be pretty bad. I think my accuracy in like Black Ops 1 was like 11% or something like that. And I know the accuracy stat isn't like the best representation of your accuracy because sometimes you just like spraying through things or like kind of trying to suppress people or trying to wallbang people randomly and stuff. So it's not the best indication of accuracy, but overall you can kind of see a general trend. Somebody with like a 25% accuracy with assuming they're using like full auto weapons and not sniper rifles or shotguns all the time, they're going to be more accurate on average than someone that has an 11% accuracy. So I've put a lot of mental energy over the years into that, and it's really been paying off for me. So honestly, that's the biggest thing I can say to help yourself improve is just focus on improving. Don't just mindlessly drone. Think about everything that's happening and always try to find a better way to do it. So that's going to wrap it up for today's Q&A. Like I said at the beginning, if you have a question for me, it can be about my personal life, Call of Duty, whatever you want it to be about, let me know in the comments section below. Keep in mind, you probably won't see the answers to this for another, like, probably 2 months now that Black Ops 3 is launching. So you probably don't want to be asking me questions like, what do you think Black Ops 3 is going to be like? Because I would have already been playing it for 2 months. So just try to gauge it that way. Maybe start thinking about like Christmas related questions or something, because hopefully I'll have one like before Christmas time. I think that's what I'm going to shoot for my next Q&A. And yeah, leave that in the comment section of this video, because that's the only place that I draw questions from for the next Q&A. Anything else I want to say? I think that's about it. Thank you guys for sticking around all the way to the end of this. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will talk to you guys next time.